Whether we like to admit it or not, we all need people in our corner to challenge us, help guide us, encourage us, and sometimes to hold us up when we just don't have the strength to do it ourselves. So where can we find those people, and how do we invest in those relationships when we have them? Well, we're talking about it today. Everyone, welcome to Epic Everywhere, practical teaching to help you grow in your faith, no matter where you're at on your spiritual journey. If we haven't met yet, my name is Emily, and I'm the pastor for Epic Online, and it's so good to meet you. And welcome to anyone who's new today. We've been expecting you, and we're glad that you made it. And you picked a great day to be here. Today is actually the beginning of our fall kickoff, and we've got an awesome day in store. Sign-ups for groups start today, so I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. And we're kicking off a brand new series called Funny 'Cause It's True, using some of the funniest videos we could find to introduce our topic each week. The series is going to be so much fun, and I've got some special guests that are going to be joining me in just a bit. So hey, as we get started, one of the first things I want to help you do today is to get connected. Step one each time you're hanging out with us is to text in. This really helps you go from a number to a name, and also helps you get some resources that we think will be helpful for you this week. So go ahead and text the word "here" to 215-999-8575, or you can scan the QR code right on the screen. And when you do, we're going to send you a link to our Next Steps hub. At the top of the hub is a spot where you can share a prayer request. Shout out to Paul and Wanjika and Brianna and Barbara and Joan and Gina for texting in and letting me know how I can pray for you this week. I've been praying for each and every one of you, and I'd love the chance to pray over anything the rest of you might be going through. So text in and let me know today. And if you're new around here, definitely take time to text in. When you do, I'm going to mail you a free Epic t-shirt. It's really the perfect fall swag. It's super comfy, and it's just a little gift from us to you to say thanks for being here. So text in and get yours. Can I just pause and just say thank you? I am so grateful for those of you who call this your church home and join us each week and give consistently. Epic Online isn't just something that I'm a part of. I'm personally being blessed, and I'm growing through Epic Online, and so are my friends and my family, my mom, my husband. So thank you so much for giving and making the difference in the lives of so many. To give today, you can do so right on the hub, or you can head to epic.church/give. Well, it's a huge day today. As I mentioned, today is the beginning of our fall kickoff, and we've got a ton of great things going down. So I thought, hey, why don't I just invite some familiar friends on set to talk about it? Hey, what's up, guys? Look who I have hanging out with me. We got Jake and Justin and Will. Hey, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to Epic Online.
Yes, it is our fall kickoff.
Let's go.
And we have a great fall lineup coming up that we're going to tell you about. We got some special opportunities to connect with other people, to make some memories, and to take some steps of growing in our faith together this fall. You know, we're on this journey of being all in, and we got some ways for you to get involved. And so we'll tell you about that. It's our fall lineup. But first, I think we need to make things a little more fall-y around here.
Okay, all right. I'm here for that.
So we've got some fall leaves to kind of set the mood and falling down. Look at this. Don't you guys love the changing colors?
Can we spread those out a little bit? I need some over here. Yeah, thank you. Okay, all right.
Some here. There we go.
Put that right here.
Along with fall leaves, when I think of fall, I think of all the wonderful smells of autumn. And so we've got a fall candle here.
We are going in. We are
Emily,
going in.
would you mind lighting that? Smells like warm apple pie, fresh out of the oven, campfire. I think the official smell of autumn has become
pumpkin spice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Spice. But did you know, according to WHYY NPR, the actual smell of autumn that we love comes from the decaying and rotting of the plants and trees.
That does not sound
and leaves
pleasant.
around us. So
Circle of life.
But I think that pumpkin spice latte sells a lot better than like dying leaves latte.
I would agree.
So speaking of lattes, I've got you guys a special fall drinks. So here we go. First off, the official pumpkin spice latte from Dunkin'. For you, Emily, a big cup for you. Our captain, Will, I know you like your chai.
Yes,
so
I do.
I've got you pumpkin cream vanilla chai latte. chai right there. And I actually like chai too. So if you wouldn't mind sharing some of that with me, I got my own mug.
Ooh, that's a nice mug.
This is our official group leader mug that we gave out at our group leader summit. So hook a brother up right there. Now, Jake, I know you don't do coffee, so I was looking for some apple cider for you. Couldn't find that at Wawa. Instead, I got you the next best thing, apple juice.
Apple juice.
Go. So
I'll get my vitamin A.
There you go. Official sugary fall drink for you. So we've got all our stuff. Thank you very much.
There you go.
We have set the mood. It is time for our fall lineup.
Okay, hey, we get started actually today. Group signups start today.
Hey.
And they actually start meeting in person and digitally next week. So you can get signed up like today, right now. And we are just so excited about all that's gonna come from groups happening this fall. There's lots of different groups going down. We'll be talking a little bit more about that later, but you can head over to the hub or to epic.church/groups to get signed up today.
Let's go.
That's awesome. Make sure you get signed up. And for all of our families, this week, September 16th, we have our Epic Kids End of Summer Bash.
Okay.
So we're going to have a lot of fun there this Saturday. And it's going to be our opportunity to say goodbye to summer. But that's okay, because we're saying hello to fall. So come and have a great time hanging out, having some snacks, getting to know some people, and there in the park on the big screen, we're gonna watch a movie when it gets dark, so it's gonna be very cool. Also, hey, if your kids like to bake, they can join the Epic Kids Great Bake Off, which will be good. Big hit last year, so I'm hoping I get picked to be a judge. That'll be fun, so we'll see you there.
We don't know. That sounds like a lot of fun. And then on Sunday afternoon, on September 24th, we have our next worship and baptism night.
Okay, all right.
It's gonna be a great time. Now, if you want more music, if you're like me, you always want more worship music, then this is the night for you. Our band's going to be leading us in extended times of worship. Plus, we get to celebrate with baptisms, people who are taking the step of following Jesus.
Right.
Our last baptism service, it was so special. We got to celebrate with many of you. It was really memorable for me because I got to baptize my two kids, Micah and Evelyn. That was a great night. And next, it's your turn. So we would love to celebrate with you. If you've made a decision to follow Jesus but have not yet been baptized, then that is your next step. So let's go. If you're in the Philly area, come get baptized. Even if for our Epic Online fan, we've got opportunities, right?
Oh yeah, we actually have somebody who's signed up from Epic Online already to get baptized. So
Let's go.
whatever city and state you're in, we have got something just for you. So get signed up.
Let's go. Worship and baptism night is going to be really special.
Yeah, and then at the end of October 21st, is Team Conference.
Yeah.
So we are always so excited to be able to invest in the future leaders and current leaders of our church and also our serve team members. So I don't know if you know, but we have tons of people that really work behind the scenes to make this church happen, from our online chat hosts, what's up guys, to people serving in person with our production and worship and guest services and kids teams. But we take time annually to go ahead and invest in them, and that's happening on the 21st at 10 a.m. Childcare is provided. We've got great leadership content, we've got music, fun, and also some delicious food. So if you're on a team, you can get signed up on the hub, or if you want to join a team, we would love to have you. So you can head to epic.church/teams.
Now, what would the fall be without our favorite, most meaningful party and prom bash of the year?
Yeah.
I'm talking about a night to
Yes.
remember, y'all. If you've been with us for a little while, you know that we have the honor of hosting Philadelphia's Night to Remember, a prom for people with disabilities. And to make it fun, to make it all they can be, we need your help to make it happen. I'm talking about, we're rolling out the red carpet. We're going to have dancing. We're going to have photography, hair and makeup. All those things are going down. We need all the vibes. So that's going down on November 11th. Make sure you are there.
Save the date.
What a great fall lineup, guys. I am so excited about what God's going to do in you and through you as we go all in this fall. But remember, that doesn't happen by default. We got to be intentional to be a part of these opportunities. So let's make sure we do.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, hey, it's been a blast being together, guys. We can't wait to see all that is up ahead. So get signed up, be a part, take some next steps. And guys, thanks for being here today.
Yes.
It's been a
Cheers.
blast.
Cheers.
Yeah.
All
Right.
All in. Get
Cheers
that
to
apple juice
fall.
ready.
Let's go.
Cheers.
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 Cheers. See you guys. Hey, thanks guys for popping in and giving us the fall rundown. So many great things going down, and I'm excited for you to be here and to be a part of it. Whether you're new or you've been around for a while, there's lots of opportunities to get connected and to grow wherever you might be at on your spiritual journey. You know, one of the most impactful things that we talked about to get connected here at Epic is really to be part of a group. If you're not familiar, they're groups of about 5 to 10 people who get together, usually on a weekly basis, either online or in person, to grow relationally and to grow spiritually. We've got message discussion groups, Bible study groups. We even have like a salsa group that's meeting this semester. Hey, the closest I get to salsa is the salsa and chips that I scarf down when I get home from work. Hey, but that's just me. It's gonna be a great group, and there's lots of groups out there just for you. You know, when I first joined a group, honestly, I think I signed up reluctantly, and I was reluctant because I was a little bit nervous. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I would fit in, and I'm so glad I didn't let that stop me, because on the other side of my nerves was everything that I was looking for: community, friendship, spiritual growth, and a whole part of my life that honestly, I don't know what I would do without. So don't delay. Get signed up for a group. You can do that on the hub or at epic.church/groups. Well, if you've been with us for a little while, you know we're on a 2-year growth journey called All In. We're learning to grow as followers of Jesus. Having a Christian community around you is a really important part of growing, and you never know how God is going to be using your group to change your life. Actually, a few weeks ago, I got to attend a wedding for a couple from our church, Say and Cassie. What's up, Say and Cassie? What's really cool is that their relationship actually started in a group just as friends. Now, I'm not saying that if you join a group, you'll find your boo. However, what I am saying is that if you join a group, you'll be putting yourself in a position to connect with other like-minded people just trying to follow Jesus. Cassie said it really well. She said, run hard after Jesus, and then look around and see who's running with you. I love that. And hey, I can't wait to see what's ahead of you and your group this semester. Well, the time has come for today's message, kicking off our new series, Funny 'Cause It's True. So let's get to it.
Yeah. Crispy.
Flaky.
Flaky.
Big smiles looking at the camera.
Oh my God.
Hey everybody, my name's Kent. I'm lead pastor here at Epic, and I'm so glad that you're doing church with us today. You know, one of my favorite things about us as a church is that we aren't afraid to have a good time together. And I think that's a really good thing for a church. I mean, think about it. Some of your favorite moments with your family are probably the moments where you're just kind of sitting around laughing, kind of shooting the breeze and having a good time together. And I think it's true for a church family too. And some of our best moments are when we're just kind of having fun. You know, years ago, I got an email from a lady who was complaining that she was upset because she said that we laughed too much at church. And what was funny was she would sit like in the third row, like way up toward the front. And every time we laughed, she would just kind of sit there and scowl, which I thought was hilarious and funny, and it made me laugh even more. Anyways, eventually I just had to tell her, look, lady, like, this is just who we are. Like, you're gonna have to deal with it, you old fuddy-duddy. I didn't say that last fuddy-duddy part, but I wanted to. Anyways, in Proverbs, it says that laughter does us good like medicine. That there's something good for your soul whenever you just have a cheerful disposition. And I think that's true because whenever you don't, isn't it true that just over time, you just kind of start to dry up on the inside? And so we thought that it'd be fun to kind of kick off the fall with a series where we both laugh and we learn together. And so each week in this series, we're gonna use something fun that we found online to introduce the topic for the day. All right, so you ready for this? Now listen, this first one, oh my gosh, I gotta tell you, this poor guy, like it made me want to laugh, but also kind of want to cry. Check this out.
By Gage Charles. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars were so gallantly there, as though rockets were there, and the twilight's last gleaming, and the rocket's red glare were so gallantly there. Burst stripes were all there, and the rockets were there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet blaze for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh man, my man was struggling. Oh my gosh, that was hard to watch. You know, right before this, they were like, "Hey, you want to run through it one time?" He's like, "No, I'm good. I got this." Woo. I wanted to reach through the screen and just give that man a hug. It's interesting. I bet he feels like, he felt like he left this back in 1995 when this first aired. But listen, the internet never forgets. Like, it never forgets. And so it was funny to watch. But then I went to the comment section. And oh my gosh, the comments about this. Check this out. One person said this: checklist. 1, rockets. 2, rockets. 3, rockets. 4, glazed banner. We're good. Another person said this. He says, he could be telling the truth. Y'all were there. Someone else said this. Okay, but major props to whomever was in charge of bringing the rockets. And then one of my favorites was this. This lady said, the way he shook his head at his own self, right? I was watching, I was like, ooh, I felt that when he was just like, Oh man, that was so hard. And did you catch that look that he gave when he was finally finished? Did you catch his face? Oh my gosh, I think we have it. Check this out. Yeah, get this. Isn't that like the exact same face as this emoji? Right? You can't tell me that they're not the same face. All right, so what in the world could we possibly be talking about today? Whenever I watched this for the first time, I thought to myself, you know what this guy needed? He needed a friend. Like, he needed somebody, just one friend to come along and help him out. Like, the cameraman didn't do nothing for him. The audience didn't help him. They just left that man all by himself. There are no cue cards. No one tried to feed him the lines, nothing. They just left him all alone. And I was thinking about that, and then I remembered another national anthem video that was similar to this, but actually turned out a little better. Check this out.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the stars like stars?
Come on. Starlight's last dream.
Stars like
Last dream.
last gleaming,
Whose
broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, and the singing air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh, man. Mo Cheeks to the rescue. How about that? Here's a fun fact. Before Maurice Cheeks was a coach, he actually spent a big part of his NBA career playing for the Sixers. So good people right there. Anyways, I love how he stepped up to help whenever she needed it most. And today, I want to talk with you about what you need most whenever you stumble and fall. We're going to start by looking at something that Jesus said to his disciples over in Luke chapter 17. Now, you need to know this kind of right out of the gate. This isn't anybody's favorite verse. Like, you're not going to find this verse on any inspirational calendars anywhere, but the truth that's found in it, I think, is enough of a warning to us that I'm going to suggest that you restructure your entire life around it. Here we go, Luke chapter 17, verse 1. Jesus said to his disciples, "Things that cause people to stumble are bound to come." So Jesus looks at the people that he's closest to, the people that he loves the most, and he says, now, I want to give you a heads up about life. Let me tell you something I know is true about you because it's true about everybody. Eventually, you're not going to see something coming, and it's going to cause you to stumble. And Jesus says, hey, it doesn't matter how long you've been around. It doesn't matter how long you've been going to church. It doesn't matter what your religious pedigree is. It doesn't matter how together you think you have it. It's impossible for you to live this life and there not be some things that come along that trip you up. Jesus says, I promise you, you're just not that good. It's because nobody is that good. See, something is going to cause you to stumble. And if you're not careful, it's going to cause you to fall. Aren't you so encouraged by that? Yeah, me neither. And really, I think that this thing that Jesus says to the people that he's closest to should be a warning to us as well. And whenever my daughter was 12 years old, she got a pair of old school roller skates for Christmas. And I thought it was going to be a good time, but it turned out ended up being just a ton of anxiety for me. And here's the reason why. That's because, like most 12-year-olds, she wasn't very cautious or very coordinated. And so as you can imagine, that's not a very graceful combination. The best way I can describe it is if you remember watching the show Friends, Kaylee roller skates like Phoebe runs. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, it was rough. Anyways, watching her, like I said, it made me super anxious because I knew what was coming. Like, I knew at some point, like you can only flail around like a baby giraffe for so long before, boom, you're going to get your legs knocked out from under you. Well, here in this verse, Jesus pulls his disciples together, and I think he's a little anxious as maybe he's telling them this. It's like he's saying, hey, guys, you don't understand. Every single one of you is like a 12-year-old on roller skates. Like, regardless of who you are or what you know or how mature you think you are, something that has the potential to cause you to stumble and fall is coming your way. It's not if, it's when. It's inevitable. And Jesus he's talking about those things, those people in our life, the relationships in our life, the choices that we make in life that take us down roads and take us down paths that we didn't necessarily want to go down. But all of a sudden we kind of look up one day and we realize, man, all of a sudden we've stumbled like out of love, or we've stumbled into an addiction, or we've stumbled into all kinds of debt, or we've stumbled away from God, stumbled away from truth. Stumbled away from what we know in our heart is right. And so, if that's true, if we're all like 12-year-olds on roller skates, then what do we do? Now, in my daughter's case, we got her some safety equipment. We got her a helmet and wrist guards and knee pads and elbow pads and shoulder pads and bubble wrap. We got it all. Everything we could get, we got for her. But in life, there's something else that you're going to need whenever you fall. And Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived other than Jesus, speaks to this over in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. I want you to look at what he says. Verse 9. He says, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. He says, hey, if you have a project to do, then it would be better for you to get someone to help you, which totally makes sense. And then he gets to the reason why this is so important as it relates to what Jesus said over in Luke chapter 17. Verse 10, he says this. He says, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up. He says 2 are better than 1 because if one falls, then the other one can help him up. And if they both fall, then they can help each other up. He goes on, he says, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Listen, you ever seen someone fall and they didn't have anyone around to help them up? You ever see someone fall morally? They didn't have anyone in their life to be there for them and help them up. You ever see someone fall financially? and they had no one around to come along and support and help them? You ever seen a couple fall in their marriage and you saw them looking around for help, for support, but there was no one around to help them up? And sometimes we fall and it's not even our own fault. Like something happens that's out of our control, like we get let go or we go through a difficult health situation. You ever see someone go through something like that and they didn't have anybody around to help them walk through that season? Yeah, I think we all have. And so here's the real question. If something like that were to happen to you, who in your life feels free to ask, are you okay? And then won't take I'm fine for an answer. You know what I'm talking about? Because we're quick to kind of dismiss the help that should be coming our way or we could take advantage of if we'd like to. But who are the people in your life who won't take I'm fine as an answer, just kind of walk away and be like, well, I tried. Is there anyone in your life that if you were to fall in your marriage, or if you were to fall financially, or if you were to fall morally or professionally, or if you were to go through a difficult health thing, who would be there for you, whether you asked them to or not? Like they would just be there for you and be able to help you back up. Because Solomon says, pity the person who falls and has no one there to help them up. Pity the person who stumbles and falls but hasn't built enough significant and meaningful relationships around them with the other people around them that they have someone who's there to come alongside and help them along the way. To come alongside and maybe save them from the pain and the heartache of falling any further. To come alongside and save them from falling so far away that it's too difficult for them to even return. Solomon says, pity the person who doesn't have those kinds of relationships, those kinds of people in their lives. He continues, verse 11. Also, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. As Solomon says that at some point, you're going to be so overwhelmed and overcome by the circumstances in life. And whenever that happens, you're going to respond better. You'll recover better. You'll navigate those waters better if you have some other people in your life to help walk through those things with you. And then he wraps it up like this. He says, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. 2 is better than 1. 3, he says, is even stronger. Solomon, like I said, the wisest man who ever lived other than Jesus, he says eventually life is going to be overwhelming. Eventually you're going to be overcome by the circumstances of this life. And when that happens, the best possible scenario for you is that you will have cultivated a group of meaningful relationships with some other people that you've built over time that'll come alongside you and help you walk through that thing. People that you can actually draw strength from. Because here's the thing, alone, you'll be quickly broken. But when you've got some other people around you, you'll be able to stand strong. Listen, I see this all the time. I see people who go through tough times, who go through difficult things, and there are those who have community, and there are those who don't. And there is such a huge difference between those two. And here's what I know about community. If you wait to build it, then you won't have it when you need it. If you wait to build it, then you won't have it when you need it. Listen, if you're a follower of Jesus and you don't have 2 or 3 other followers of Jesus in your life that are so close to you that you would consider them a brother or a sister, listen, I'm going to be honest, I feel sad for you. I feel sad for you because you have no idea what you're missing out on. Whenever we moved into our house, we didn't get blinds for all of our windows for the first 2 years. And so during the summer, between 3:30 and 7 p.m., our house was like 80 plus degrees every single day. And it was really tough. Like we couldn't watch TV because the glare would come through the window and shine on the TV. We ended up doing silly stuff like propping things up in the window to cast a shadow, and we'd all kind of crowd and try to sit in the shadow just to cool off a little bit. Our energy bill went through the roof, and finally we just looked at each other, we're like, this is dumb. Like, why don't we do something about this? And we finally got some blinds. And whenever we got the blinds, I remember we just kind of sat in the living room looking at each other thinking, why did we wait so long? Like, why did we wait so long to do this? Here's the thing. We had no idea how much better life could be. And gang, I think it's the same when having meaningful relationships in your life. with having some other followers of Jesus that maybe are a little further down the road than you, that can encourage you and challenge you, maybe even the kind of same stage of life that you're in, that can walk through some things with you. You have no idea how much better life can be when you have that kind of a thing in your life. You have no idea how much more clarity you can have in the decisions that you make when you have some other trusted people that you can bounce those things off of. You have no idea how much more encouraged you could be in life whenever you're going through some discouraging times. You have no idea how much more strength you could draw on and have whenever you feel like, man, just giving up. You have no idea how much hope, how much more hope you can have in the middle of circumstances and situations that may seem a little hopeless. Whenever you've got people in your life that you can lean on and draw on. I mean, even Jesus had a handful of close relationships like this that were considered like his inner circle. If you look at the relationships that Jesus invested his time with, you'll see that there were a few. First of all, there was the crowds. And the crowds he spent the least amount of time with, but there was still a big group of crowds of people that he would spend time with. And then Jesus had a group. It was the 12 disciples. He spent 3 years with these guys doing life day in and day out with another. But then of the 12, there was 3, Peter, James, and John. And he was particularly close to these 3. And then his most important relationship of all was the one that he had with God. And what's interesting to me is that Jesus didn't take the 12 disciples everywhere that he went. Like sometimes he only took his inner circle. Sometimes he only took Peter, James, and John. And he showed them things that he didn't necessarily show everybody else. For example, the transfiguration, like where he literally peels back his humanity and lets them see his glory. It was Peter, James, and John who were there to see that. Or whenever he raised a girl from the dead, it was Peter, James, and John who were there to see that. Whenever he healed Peter's mother-in-law, it was Peter, James, and John who were there for that. And then in one of the hardest moments of his life, in the Garden of Gethsemane, he pulled those guys aside from the rest of the group. And in this moment of just honesty and transparency, he told them that his soul was overwhelmed with sorrow. And then he asked them to stay with him. And they prayed together. And what you see in the life of Jesus is that in both his highest and lowest moments, it was Peter, James, and John who were there with him. That's who he wanted around. And I don't exactly know why Jesus needed an inner circle, but I know that he had one. And I know that we need one too. That we need a handful of people for the highs and the lows of life. A handful of people that we're willing to go places with and share things with that maybe we wouldn't share with other people. A handful of people that we can ask to pray with us and stay up with us in those moments in life when our soul is overwhelmed with sorrow. A handful of people that we can draw strength from whenever we need it most. A handful of people that we know have got our back and they know that we've got theirs. Every single one of us needs 2 or 3 people in our lives like that. Now, here's the thing about that. I can't do that for you. Our church can't do that for you. But we can create environments where those kinds of relationships could be found, where those kinds of relationships could begin. And we call them groups. Now, whenever people think about church, most of the time they think about the big gathering part, whether it's on site or online. People think about the part where there's one guy who's talking and then everybody else is kind of listening. But there's a better and more important part of this thing that I think is the real strength of who we are as a church. And it's groups. It's where hundreds and hundreds of busy people with busy lives carve out time out of their busy schedules to meet together with other busy people from our church, to hang out, to learn from the Bible, learn from each other, to ask questions, to pray with one another, build relationship with one another. See, everybody thinks about this big gathering part, but it's this invisible groups part that I think is the real secret sauce to who we are as a church. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, I like the big gathering part. I think that's pretty cool. But there's something about being face to face with some other people that we think is better than all of your faces just kind of staring and watching a screen. Groups. In fact, we said it this way over the years. We said that circles are better than rows. There's something about a circle. where you're face to face with some other people who know your name and you know theirs, and you can talk and process and think through some things. That's better than just a bunch of people sitting in rows staring at one guy on a stage or watching someone on a screen. See, groups is where growth happens. Groups is where belonging happens. It's where care happens. It's where accountability happens. Groups is where you find the feet to begin to walk out your faith. It's where you can start to kind of put some handles on some things and say, oh, so that's what it looks like to live that out? Oh, so that's what it looks like to apply that to my life? Oh, it's even possible? Like there's other people who actually take this stuff seriously? Wow, that's amazing to me, right? Groups is where you can pray with and for each other. Groups is where you're known and where you get to know some other people. And groups is where you can find some people to really do this life with. See, groups is where we bridge the gap between what we talk about on Sunday and actually living it out on Monday. Groups is where it bridges the gap between information and application. And gang, I gotta be honest, I don't want you to miss any of that. Like I said, circles, they're better than rows. I love the rows, but there's something about a circle. And every time I sit across from a couple who's having marriage problems, I always ask him, like, who is in your life? Like, who's in your circle? And in almost every case, at least one of the spouses would say, I have no circle. Like, I have no group of friends. There's nobody around me. Or there's one spouse who does have a circle, but they've chosen to completely ignore that circle. Like, all their friends are in their ear saying, what are you doing? What's going on? But they're just like, nope, I don't want to hear it. You know, I did that with this one guy who actually had cheated on his wife with a girl that he met at work. And I asked him, I was like, hey, so who's in your life? And you know what he said? He says, I have zero guy friends. None. In fact, all my closest friends are female. I was like, well, you know. Listen, at the same time, I can't tell you how many guys I've sat around in a circle with regularly who would say that the best thing that they ever did for their marriage was be part of a group of guys who really loved each other and cared for one another and who stood with and for each other. The kind of guys who won't just be a fight friend and tell you what you want to hear in the moment, but a kind of guy who will fight for your marriage, even when you're not willing to fight for it. Gang, there's something about doing life with other people where you're hearing their struggles and they're hearing yours and you're celebrating their victories and they're celebrating yours. Something about knowing their story. It just kind of has this way of always encouraging your own. Again, I'm telling you, if you'll do that long enough, eventually something magical happens. You'll find your people. And yeah, it might be a little awkward at first. And yeah, it might take some time to get to know each other, but eventually you'll run into some people where it just kind of clicks. Like this. Check it out. Oh man, I'm telling you, listen, the party gets so much better whenever you find your people. Life gets so much better whenever you find your people. The kind of people that you can call on and who'll be there for you whether you want them to be or not. The kind of people that you look up one day and you realize that it's not just an acquaintance anymore, but they're actually like family to you. The kind of people where it's like, he's not just a good guy anymore. No, he's my brother. And we're in this thing together. Listen, I can't promise that you're going to find your very best friend of all time if you join a group or get into a group. But I can tell you this. If you don't already have a circle like that, if you don't have some other followers of Jesus that are a little further down the road than you, or maybe in the same stage of life than you that will encourage and challenge you and help you take some steps forward and point you in a better direction, man, a group is a great place to start. Listen, this is so important. It's important because you need this in order to stay connected. So whenever you don't have these kinds of relationships, it's easy for you to kind of stumble out of faith, to stumble away from God. It can be easy to stumble out of church because church is an attendance thing. It's a habit thing. Like all you have to do is wake up one Sunday and decide, I'm just a little too tired, or I'll just catch up later, but then you really don't, Before you know it, you get out of the habit and then it's over. You've completely stumbled away. It's easy to even stumble out of belief. Like all you need is just some different information or a bad experience or two. And you're like, I don't know if I believe that anymore. But it's almost impossible to just stumble your way out of community. It's almost impossible to just stumble your way out of meaningful relationships, And so if you built those things and cultivated them over time, I'm telling you, they will serve you well in the end. In fact, I've heard it said that oftentimes the first step away from God is a step away from God's people. And I think that's true. But I also think the opposite is true. That for many of us, the most significant step we could take toward God is a step toward God's people. And the last reason I think that you need to have these kinds of relationships in your life is so that you can grow. 2 are better than 1. 3 is even stronger. Truth is, you can't grow in isolation. Okay, my hope is that you'll discover the joy of having some people in your corner who know your name, who know your faults, who pray with you and for you, who walk with you through whatever this life throws your way. That whenever you start to stray, that help bring you back on track. You think about it, the time in a race when you need the most support? It's not in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you got all the energy in the world. You're ready to go. Here we go. It's not the very end because you can see the finish line. It's in sight. It's in the middle, isn't it? It's right there in the middle. That's when you need some people to cheer you on. That's when you need some people to come alongside you. That's when you need some people to encourage you. Gang, I think that God has given us the gift of each other for the messiness that happens in the middle. Gang, let's face it. Every single one of us is like a 12-year-old on roller skates. It's true. It's inevitable. We're all going to stumble and we're all going to fall from time to time. That's why you and I, we both need some other people, some meaningful relationships, some people that are going to encourage us and challenge us and help us. And we need to be those kinds of people for others as well. Yeah? Listen, gang, group semester starts or opens up for signups this week. I want to encourage you, don't let this year end without taking some steps toward building significant and meaningful relationships with some people that'll help you grow and be all that God has dreamed for you to be. All right? I don't want you to miss that. Let's do it. And let me pray for you. God, we love you. But thank you so much that you first loved us. Give us the wisdom to know what to do with what we just heard and the courage to do it. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, hey, I love you guys. See you next week.
Thanks so much for that message, Kent. We weren't meant to do life alone, and thank God we don't have to. And Kent gave us our marching orders for this week. Next step, find your people and get into a group. We've got all kinds of groups meeting, and if you're in the Philly area, they're in person. If you're online, there's tons of them to choose from, and you can see all the details for that on the hub. So if you haven't taken time to text in, do that right now, or you can head to epic.church/groups. They start filling up really quickly, and they're actually meeting next week, so make sure that you sign up today. Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us. Before you go, take time to hit like and make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Also, take time to share it with somebody. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you right back here next week.